see it.
Look, I'm writing this with my mouth. Well, a stylus in my mouth. My hands are basically just two cauterized lumps of scar tissue that look like overcooked hot dogs someone left on the grill for a week. The doctors call it complications, but I know what it is. It's the price. I used to be the smartest guy in every room. Not because I read books are for losers, but because I knew how to work the system. While everyone else was grinding for minimum wage, I was playing the game. Before the funeral home, I worked at L'Heritage. Fancy place. I take a $400 bottle of Bordeaux, dump it into a plastic jug, and refill the bottle with this $3 bottom shelf garbage that tastes like battery acid and old pennies. I'd sell the real stuff to a rival spot across town for cash. The rich idiots drinking the cheap crap never knew. They'd swirl it around, talk about tannins, and I'd be in the back laughing my ass off. The only downside was that cheap wine gave me the most violent, soul-crushing diarrhea you've ever seen. Like, literal liquid fire. But hey, profit is profit. Then I got the job at the funeral home. Talk about a gold mine. People are idiots. They bury their grandmas with ruby necklaces, sapphire rings, and diamond studs like the dead bitch is gonna go shopping in hell. It's a waste. I started ordering stunt jewelry from Temu and Shine. $10 for something that looks real enough to a grieving, crying daughter. I'd get along with the body, snip the real gold off the cold, stiff neck, and snap on the Chinese alloy. I'd tell my buddies at the bar I should start a jewelry business. We'd howl laughing. I had a shoebox under my bed overflowing with the real deal. I was just waiting for the heat to die down before I took it 3 towns over to a pawn shop that doesn't ask questions. Then came last Tuesday. I was hammered. I'd been drinking that $3 swill again, and my stomach was already doing backflips. I was sitting on my floor, surrounded by the loot. I felt like a king. I started putting the rings on. Some were tiny, old lady rings, so I jammed them onto my knuckles until the skin turned purple. I draped 6 heavy gold necklaces around my neck. I looked dope. Then the air went cold. Not AC cold. Deep freezer full of rot cold. I heard a sound like dry sticks breaking. One by one, the jewelry started to glow. Not pretty either. It turned a dull, angry orange. I tried to pull a sapphire ring off my pinky, but it was stuck. Then the heat hit. It wasn't like touching a stove. It was like the gold was hungry. I heard my own skin sizzle, a wet, popping sound like bacon hitting a hot pan. The smell was the worst part. Burnt hair and sweet, roasting pork. My screen got cut off because the necklaces, the ones from the lady who died of lung cancer and the old guy who got hit by a bus, they started sinking. The gold melted into my neck. It didn't just burn the surface, it ate through the fat, the muscle, and the gristle. I could feel the liquid metal sliding down my windpipe. I smelled my own insides cooking. My fingers were fusing together, the rings melting into the bone. I tried to claw at my throat, but my hands were just boiling mitts of meat. I fell over, and that's when the wine diarrhea hit. Total loss of control. So there I am, flopping on the floor, covered in my own liquid filth, smelling like a barbecue in a sewer, while my fingers literally melted off my hands. The pain was so sharp I couldn't even faint. I just watched the skin on my knuckles bubble up like pancakes and then pop, dripping yellow fluid onto the carpet. The necklaces burned so deep they scarred my lungs. Every breath I take now feels like I'm inhaling broken glass and wet ash. The doctors had to debride the necrotic tissue. That's a fancy way of saying they took a scrub brush to my raw meat to get the cheap gold flakes out. I've had 14 surgeries. I have no fingernails. I have no career. I'm writing this because the voices won't stop. They aren't ghosts in sheets. They're just whispers in the back of my throat where the gold burned a hole. They say I'm still wearing their weight. Don't be a smart guy like me. Leave the dead alone. They don't like sharing, and their jewelry stays hot forever.
next story.
Some debts are paid in skin. Don't look up.
The following text was recovered from a series of handwritten letters mailed to our editorial office last spring. The envelope had no return address. While we initially dismissed it as a morbid creative writing exercise, the level of anatomical detail and the frantic, deteriorating handwriting suggests something far more disturbing. We have omitted the author's last name at the request of the local authorities. I'm 26. I work a filing job where no one knows my name. My home is a studio apartment. My family hasn't called in 3 years. No friends. No boyfriend. Not even a fish. I used to think I was invisible, but I was wrong. I was being watched. It started on a Tuesday. I was brushing my teeth when I noticed it. I spat into the sink, and as I looked up, my reflection didn't move. Not for a fraction of a second. It just lingered, bent over the porcelain, before snapping upright to match me. I told myself it was the fluorescent lights, or the exhaustion of being a ghost in my own life. I was so lonely I think I wanted it to be real. A week later, I was putting on lipstick for no one. I stopped. My reflection didn't. She kept applying the red wax, her hand moving with a fluid, predatory grace. Then she looked me in the eye and smiled. It wasn't my smile. It was wider. I didn't scream. I leaned in. I touched the cold glass, and she touched back. For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. I had her. I embraced her, even welcomed her. We spent hours together. I'd bring my dresses to the mirror, and she'd show me how they looked from the back without me even turning. We did our makeup in sync, 2 versions of the same lonely girl becoming perfect. I felt like I was finally sharing my life. I called her my better half. We were a team. Then, 3 nights ago, something changed. I was sitting at my vanity, humming. My better half stopped humming. She reached into the drawer, her drawer, the one behind the glass, and pulled out a fresh, double-edged razor blade. I watched, mesmerized, as she held it up. I thought it was a game. "Don't," I whispered, laughing a little. "You'll hurt us." She didn't laugh. She pressed the steel against her neck, our neck. I felt a cold, phantom tingle on my skin. I smiled, a nervous, shaking thing, convinced she wouldn't do it. If she died, I died. Right? She dragged the blade across the side of her throat. It was a shallow cut. In the mirror, thick, dark crimson began to bead and spill down her collarbone. On my own neck, a line of fire erupted. I gasped, reaching up, and my fingers came away wet. Not much, but enough. She was grinning now, a jagged, horrific expression that pulled the wound open like a second mouth. I didn't want to play anymore. I ran. I covered the bathroom mirror with a towel, but she was in the microwave door. She was in the window at night. Everywhere I looked, she was waiting with that blade. Yesterday, she took a chunk out of her own cheek. I felt the skin on my face tear upward, the wet slab of tissue hitting the floor that wasn't there. I can't look in the mirror without seeing her peeling herself apart. Every time she slices a finger off, I hear my own bones snap. Every time she carves a line into her chest, my shirt soaks through with blood. I'm a walking open wound. I haven't slept. I've covered every reflective surface in the apartment with duct tape, but I can hear her scratching. I can't take the smell of my own rotting, unstitched skin. I ran out of the apartment, screaming, my clothes sticking to the raw meat of my back. I'm writing this from a payphone outside some 24-hour gym. It's 3:24 a.m. I'm writing with my eyes squeezed shut so I don't see my face in the payphone's metal casing. I can't explain everything. I'm in such a rush. I can feel her coming for me. She's in the puddles. She's in the dark glass of the cars. I'm lightheaded. I think I've lost too much. I can feel my left ear hanging by a thread because she decided to slice it off in the reflection of a shop window. I'm going inside. I need help. I need someone to see me. Editor's note, the letter ends here. Police records describe a disturbing incident at a local gym. Witnesses claim a young woman entered the weight room, covered in self-inflicted lacerations. As she walked past the wall-to-wall mirrors, she froze. Multiple witnesses swore that as she screamed, the woman in the mirror began to unzip her own skin. In a matter of seconds, the woman in the room didn't just bleed, she collapsed. Her body seemingly liquefied, turning into a horrific heap of gore on the linoleum, as if she had been processed through a meat grinder from the inside out. The reflection in the mirror remained, standing perfectly still, clean and smiling, amidst a gym full of horrified onlookers. Police concluded she died in combination of self-inflicted wounds with severe schizophrenia and closed the case.
Next story.
Some debts are paid in skin. Don't look up.
I'm writing this from the Central Library. I have 40 minutes before my session expires and they kick me back out into the rain. I need to get this down while my hands still have enough weight to press the keys. I've been unhoused for 18 months. I hate the word. It sounds like a temporary clerical error. In reality, I live in a nylon tent tucked under the bridge near the Willow Line. You learn to skin the mud after a heavy storm. The river vomits up all sorts of things, mostly scrap metal and heartbreak, but 3 days ago, it gave me something else. It was an antique gold band, heavy and etched with lilies. No hallmarks, just a dull, buttery glow that felt warmer than the silt it was buried in. Naturally, I cleaned it in the water. I don't know why I did it, loneliness, maybe, or a momentary lapse into vanity, but I slid it onto my left ring finger. It was a perfect fit. Not snug, but perfect. Like it had been waiting for the exact diameter of my bone. That night, I didn't dream of the usual things, hunger or the sound of traffic. I dreamt of a cathedral made of gray mist. I was standing at an altar, and a woman in a heavy, damp veil took my hand. She didn't speak, but as she slid that same gold band down my finger, I felt a coldness stitch itself into my marrow. I woke up shivering, my finger throbbing. Update, 24 hours later. I tried to take it off this morning. I used dish soap from the public restroom, then WD-40 I scavenged from a garage. Nothing. It's not that my finger is swollen, it isn't. In fact, my hand looks thinner. The skin is becoming a translucent, waxen gray. The ring seems to be sinking into the flesh, the gold lilies beginning to crest over the skin like they're growing there. The dreams are getting louder. I can hear her breathing now. She smells like stagnant water and pressed flowers. She keeps saying, a promise is a wait. I'm tired. More tired than a man should be after 12 hours of sleep. When I look in the mirror in the library bathroom, I have to blink to see my own reflection. It's like I'm being turned down, a lamp losing its oil. Update, final. This will be my last post. My time is almost up, and honestly, I don't think I have the strength to walk back to the bridge. The ring is no longer sitting on top of my skin. It's beneath it. I can see the outline of the lilies under my pulse, glowing a faint, sickly yellow. I've lost nearly 20 pounds in 3 days. My clothes feel like they're hanging on a wire. Frame. I'm not scared anymore, which is the strangest part. I feel a sense of appointment. I looked out the library window a few minutes ago. It's pouring. On the far side of the street, standing perfectly still in the middle of the sidewalk, is a woman in a gray dress. She isn't holding an umbrella, but the rain seems to avoid her, sliding off her shoulders as if she's made of glass. She's looking up at this floor. She's waiting. I've spent a year being invisible to everyone in this city. People walk through me like I'm a ghost. I guess I finally found someone who sees me. Someone who wants to keep me. The librarian just tapped my shoulder. She looked confused for a second, her eyes darting as if she couldn't quite focus on where I was sitting. "We're closing," she whispered. Her voice sounded like it was coming from miles away. "I'm going to go now. I have a wife to meet." If you're ever walking by the river and you see something gold shining in the mud, leave it. Some things aren't lost, they're just waiting for a new place to live.
Next story.
Some debts are paid in skin. Don't look up.
I never thought my bathroom would become a crime scene. It started with a smell. It was sweet and metallic. I thought a mouse had died in the wall. I bought some heavy-duty bleach. I scrubbed the tiles until my knuckles bled. The scent stayed. It got thicker. It felt like it was coating the back of my throat. My apartment is old. The pipes always groan at night. But this was different. The water started running slow. The drain gurgled like it was choking. I figured it was just a hair clog. I bought a plastic snake tool. I pushed it down the dark hole. It hit something soft. I pulled back hard. A clump of long black hair came out. It was matted with something gray and slimy. It looked like white insulation. I threw it in the trash and felt sick. The smell didn't go away. It actually got worse. The next night, the toilet started acting up. The water stayed gray after every flush. I tried plunging it for 20 minutes. My arms were shaking from the effort. Suddenly, the pressure gave way. Something shifted deep in the porcelain throat. A bubble of gas burst at the surface. It smelled like a butcher shop in July. I leaned in close to look. I saw something pink swirling in the bowl. It looked like a piece of raw bacon. I flushed again. The water rose to the very brim. It didn't go down this time. Small, dark flecks floated to the top. They looked like oversized coffee grounds. I realized they were scabs. I felt my stomach flip over. I reached for the phone to call my landlord. That is when the pipes started screaming. It sounded like metal grinding on bone. I stood there frozen in the doorway. The toilet began to overflow slowly. The liquid wasn't just water anymore. It was thick and dark crimson. It spilled over the white rim. It stained the bath mat instantly. Then the first solid piece hit the floor. It made a wet, heavy thud. It was a human ear. The edges were jagged and torn. It looked like it had been chewed off. I couldn't move my legs. Another splash followed. A severed finger slid across the tile. The nail was still painted bright blue. It was my neighbor's favorite color. I heard a wet sucking sound from the drain. Something was pushing from the other side. The ceramic began to crack. A large shard of bone wedged in the trap. It looked like a piece of a jaw. 3 teeth were still attached to it. The floor was a lake of gore now. The copper smell was suffocating me. I backed into the hallway. My socks were soaked in her blood. I saw a clump of skin slide out. It had a familiar tattoo on it. It was the small bird she got last May. The pipes weren't clogged with trash. They were stuffed with her. Someone had fed her into the plumbing upstairs. The pressure was forcing her through the bends. I heard a heavy wet slide. A large mass of blue intestines coiled out. They looked like slick, glistening snakes. They piled up on the wet floor. The toilet finally shattered from the internal force. A mangled hand reached out from the hole. The fingers were twitching in the red soup. They were searching for a grip. I ran for the front door. My feet were slipping on the red tile. I fell hard into the mess. My face hit the cold, wet gore. I felt the grit of bone against my cheek. I scrambled up and pushed outside. I screamed for help in the empty hall. I looked back one last time. The hand had grabbed the door frame. It was pulling the rest of her through. A face with no skin appeared. The eyes were wide and milky white. She looked right at me through the mess. Her mouth opened in a silent, wet cry. I didn't stop running until I hit the street. I can still feel the slime on my skin. I scrubbed until I bled, but it stays. I see her every time I close my eyes. The sound of running water makes me vomit. I live in a hotel now. I never use the bathroom in the dark. I know what is waiting in the pipes. I know how she fits inside.
Next story.
Some debts are paid in skin. Don't look up.
Next story is yours. Take a look at the shadow in the corner of your room. Are you sure it was that shape a minute ago? Subscribe or be the next in line.